Love Cookies writes, "What's your scrapping weakness? Personally, I can't pass up any kind of journaling spots or stickers. I have way more than I'll ever need, yet I can't keep myself from buying even more. Granted, I do use them on pretty much every layout, but they're like candy to me. Glitter Girl, can you help Love Cookies pretty up what she can't pass over?"
Of course I can. And today I want to show you something a little different than normal because today's question isn't exactly a problem that needs solving, but it is something that we tend to have in common, and that's that we gravitate toward specific types of supplies that fit our style or catch our eye the most. And sometimes we can beat ourselves up about that and think that, oh, we're always doing the same sort of thing because we always have those go-to supplies that we love. And I actually think we should never, ever, ever criticize ourselves for that because going to the supplies that we love or that catch our eye those are the things that make our style unique and will give our pages a look that's all our own. So today I want to demonstrate that by making 2 pages really quickly, but using different supplies, but the same style. So let me show you what I mean by that. I have 2 page kits assembled here. I'll set one to the side and walk you through the first one and then show you the second. And everything here is something that you've seen me use multiple times, and you'll probably recognize that these are the things that I gravitate toward. So I'm starting with a craft cardstock background, which I do time and time again, and I have 2 4x6 photos in the same direction, and that's also something I tend to do. Let's see, where did that second photo go? It's here somewhere, I promise. There it is. Okay, so 2 4x6 photos in the same direction, and craft cardstock, definitely a starting example that I use quite often. Then I'm going to go to quadrants of 6x6 paper on the 12x12 background, and quadrants is something that I use often as well. So I've cut, I haven't cut, I've grabbed 4 different 6x6 papers. These are from the Glitz Uncharted Waters collection. So I know that my background will go together really easily like that. I've chosen these all from the same paper pad, so I know that they mix and match really well and I don't have to think too much about it. I have my 2 photos, and then all the other embellishments I've gathered here include things that I use lots, and they're my favorite types of embellishing products. So I have a cut apart sheet to give me some die cut boxes and journaling boxes. I have some stickers from the same collection. Then I have the combination of baker's twine and some washi tape, a little bit of Mr. Huey mist, and then to dress it up, some rhinestones. Now, and here's one little journaling die cut as well. Now, the 6x6 papers came from this Glitz pack, and I think I have everything I need, but I tend to keep the whole paper pad out on my desk until the layout's done, just in case I need to go back and maybe punch something as an embellishment, or I need just a little bit more of something that will coordinate. And then for my title, I use thickers on almost every layout, and I really like small letter stickers to balance out the large thickers, particularly letter tiles like the mini market stickers from October Afternoon, and I have to admit I just buy them in every color they make. And that's my first page kit. So they're all things that I use all the time. They're my equivalent of those products that I just can't pass up. So let me show you then what I created for the second page kit, because I followed the same idea, but different colors, different theme. Okay, so let me see if I can come back to the background. So this time I started with white cardstock, which I use a little, well, significantly less than craft, and I did the same thing with 4 6x6 papers from the same collection to create my quadrant background, and I have 2 4x6 photos in the same direction, but this time they're both landscape, where the other option they were both portrait. So that will make one little difference in addition to the completely different color scheme here. Now, I wanted to show you one difference in the pattern papers because these are both from Glitz, and they're 6x6 pattern papers, but this is from Hello Friend, which is a slightly older collection, and then the Uncharted Waters is their brand new collection. There is a little difference in the papers, and that's that in the slightly older collections, everything is single-sided, and there are 3 of each design for a total of 36 pattern papers. So you have 12 designs times 3. Now, in the new collections, there are 24 pages, so there are fewer pages, but the paper is a slightly thicker quality and they're all double-sided. So instead of getting 3 repeats of everything, you're getting 2 of every design, but also a thicker paper and it's double-sided. So I just wanted to point that out in case you have a real preference toward one or the other. And this Hello Friend collection, of course, both of these come in 12 by 12 as well. And the Hello Friend collection is just lovely, delicate shades of pink and peach and craft, and really, really nice, versatile, but quite girly line. Love this confetti paper with a little bit of distress, and it has some of my other favorite motifs like hearts, and it also has a polka dot. I thought I would use the polka dot on this page actually because I wanted to pull the things that I really, really like, and I do use polka dots on plenty of pages, but if I show it to you here, I think you'll see that I'm using that one with 3 of the more white, lighter pattern papers. It's a bit heavy, so I went with a pink and white pattern instead. So same thing here where I have the 4 pattern papers, the 2 photos, solid color background. Then I have small tiled mini market letter stickers and a large thicker alphabet. Then I get into the embellishments. Instead of a cut apart sheet, I have some Ellie's Studio die cut cards, same sort of embellishment. And instead of the large rhinestones, I've pulled out some pearls and enamel dots. And then for the stickers and journaling die cuts, I've pulled out these stickers from the new Maggie Holmes Crate Paper Collection and some label stickers from My Mind's Eye. But of course, I still have washi tape. I wasn't quite as sure which color is going to be best, so I pulled out 2 pinks, a polka dot and a stripe, and a gray chevron. Then some baker's twine in gray, and some Mr. Huey's in pink. So exactly the same sort of supplies in the page kit. Really easy to just go through and say, what are the things that I really, really like and I know I will use. I find them really simple to use, and put together page kits like that in different color schemes. And because the topics are different, I know these will go in 2 different albums. The photos are more than 2 years apart in date, and one is a travel page, one is a wedding page, so those are 2 different albums in my collection. So I don't mind that I'm going to repeat some similar things in the design. I'm going to start with one page and take you through that process, and I'll show you along the way how I adapt that design to make a second page using all those things I love, and you can really see a style start to emerge. I just trimmed the 6x6 papers by 1/4 inch on 2 sides so that I would have the frame to go around the edge that shows the craft cardstock in the background, and then arranged them in the quadrants of the page, and basically made my decision of what pieces went where by the fact that one of them had a corner design. So in order for this corner design that's quite small to show, it needed to go in the corner of the page that's the same corner. And then I could build everything else around from there, and decided that this palest corner could go up here to the top opposite that, and then the 2 patterns that are more repetitive on the other diagonal. Now, if you were really eagle-eyed, you may have noticed that for the pink page kit, I had some label stickers, but I didn't have those for this page kit. And that's because I have them on the same sort of look on one of the journaling cards. So I wanted to use a label here, and I'm going to place it alongside the photos to carry this across the page. However, if I place it here, that leaves me with this join on show that ends up a little bit awkward. So that's a great place for me to use some washi tape, and I'm just going to tuck it under the edge of the photo here and run it along in a straight line to the edge of the page. And then I'll just take a little bit to match that on this side as well, even though there's only just a tiny bit to cover. And I can just wrap that around to the back. And now I have a much cleaner line in the middle of my design. And this journaling card can come down here, tucked just under the edge of the photo and overlapping that washi tape. Now, the other reason I wanted to use this card on this area of the page is because the matching 6x6 paper is here on the diagonal. So that should help your eye go across the page and take everything in. From here, it's a great time to stop and add my title and figure out what other embellishment I want to include. So I know that I need to make room for my title in these large letter stickers. So they're going to take up a little more room. So what I tend to do is go ahead and spell them out without actually attaching them. So I'm just placing them on top of the layout. And then I'll go back, move them around, and get them in just the right place. Here's exactly why I do that, just placing the letter stickers on the page without pressing them down, because I've built my title from that large word first and then the smaller words on top, but now it's top heavy and these letters over here are left floating and look like they should be falling, because if I were to pick this up like it was a shelf, all of these books would fall down to the floor. So I then need to move this all around so that I can bring the title up in 2 rows rather than have it all in one long row. And because I haven't actually pressed them onto the page, I can take them off really easily and move them around. So here's everything stacked up in a way that doesn't give you that falling effect. If this were a shelf, all the books would stay nicely stacked up there, if perhaps a little bit of a big stack, but that's okay. And that gives me a title placement that I'm happy with, and then I can build around from there. And I already have space for journaling here, and I can see that this space is light enough that if I need more room for writing, I'll be able to place it here. Now, I want to go ahead and pause on this layout to take this same idea across to the second page and show you how that comes together. So following the same steps that I did to create this page, I now have this version as well, and it's a different look by making just a few different decisions along the way. So obviously the colors and the patterns are different, but in this case I rounded the 4 outer corners and only inked the outside edges so that the joins are a little bit more minimal. These were landscape photos that instead of portrait. The placement therefore is a little bit different, and in this first page the corner design was down here, and I balanced the photo on the line of the corner design. But in this grouping of papers, the corner design came at a top piece, and it also had a line, so I used that same guide point to line up my photos, but this time I matted them on gray cardstock and used the matte as the edge here in the corner. Then I created my title in the space that was left with the mix of thickers and the small mini market stickers to fit the space that I had available. And then I have a journaling card next to the photos, overlapping some washi tape that goes across the join of the pages, just the same here. And where this journaling card already had the label printed on top, I've just added the label sticker on top in this case. So a different look, but exactly the same steps to follow. So I'm going to go back to the first layout now, finish this one up, and then follow the same steps to finish that layout in pink. Okay, so this adventure from here to the end of the layout will be a little journey through all my favorite products, because that's what I had pulled out. So I tend to use Mr. Huey or other kinds of mist as a way to guide your eye to different parts of the page. And for this particular page, I'm wanting to emphasize this diagonal line from the top corner here, which is a bit more plain, through the title and the photos down to the bottom corner. So I'm going to use just a few drops of Mr. Huey in the 2 corners, and I'll just cover the photo here so I don't splash my ink all over there. And then I'm going to have some embellishment here, so I'm going to add just a tiny little bit here, but not very much. And then I can have a look at all the other elements I've pulled out from my favorite types of embellishment. I have this journaling card, and I really like to layer my journaling cards to I still want a place to write, but I like the idea of sometimes the writing not being quite so blocky, and by layering them on top of each other, I still get quite a lot of room here, but I can break it up into smaller pieces. And then let's see if I can take this grouping of embellishments and move it up, or if I should take this down to the bottom of the page perhaps. Which does mean that I would just cover up the mist that I had just added in. Or do I put it on an opposite corner? I think actually I'd be better off to put my writing in first so that I don't add in too much and get rid of the room that I'll need to write. So I'm going to pause it just for a second so I can get my words on the page, and then I'll be able to add my embellishment over the top. Once I had my writing in place, I tried to move that larger sticker around in a few different spots, and it was just a bit too big to achieve the balance I want. So I'll save that for something else. And I went back to the different supplies I already had out and cut out this little banner piece that matches well with the banners here and gives me a little bit of a darker color for contrast up here in this pale corner. So that took the place of that larger sticker, and then I'm ready for a finishing touch. And I always like to come back to things that I use on my pages all the time, and so I've cut out 3 of the rhinestones, and I was able to take the ones that match these patterns. So that confetti pattern turns back up, and this ampersand with the banners as well, and then one that's a little bit more neutral to match as well. And I have little pieces of the baker's twine that I can loop around and staple into place. And then these little striped strips are the pieces that I cut off from the 6x6 to make it just ever so slightly smaller, and I'm going to use just a piece of one of these in each of 3 areas of embellishment to have a little bit of a horizontal line or a grounding piece to each little grouping. So really, really simple. There'll be 3 of them, and there's 3 elements to each embellishment. So I'll just tuck this underneath, take my twine and loop it into a circle. Then I'm using a tiny attacher little stapler to staple the twine into place. And then the rhinestones are super easy, just peel and stick. So I can place that right next to the twine and have that little group. I'll repeat that on the other 2, and then this version of the page will be all finished. So by embracing all of the products that I really love and the design choices that I tend to go to without thinking, that my absolute favorites, today I've ended up with 2 finished pages that will go in separate albums and have some things in common but actually look quite different in their finished design. So here's the finished embellished version of this one on the craft cardstock with 3 of those little matching areas of embellishment, and then those same exact steps led to this layout with more delicate embellishment here, so smaller pieces. Instead of 1 large rhinestone, I've used 5 little pieces, 2 enamel dots, and 3 tiny little pearls. 1 little file tab to bring that hot pink tone from down here up to the top corner, and then again the baker's twine looped and stapled onto the page. But less embellishment and more open space on a page that has lighter tones and more delicate patterns. And the difference between rounding those edges, using the white cardstock in the background, and matting the photos that are landscape rather than portrait on some cardstock to give them a bit more weight on the page. So your challenge this week is to take the things that you are drawn to. What is it that you always buy at the scrapbook store when you're shopping? Or what is it that you always go to when you're designing a page? Tell us when you upload your project. Tell us in that little box underneath the layout why those things are what you do, or what catches your eye about those products. Tell us a little bit about your creative process. And of course, you only have to make 1 page, but if you get a little bit adventurous Pinterest and make multiple versions of the same layout, by all means, go ahead and let us see both interpretations. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see your pages in the gallery.
Join us next week for the continuing adventures of Glitter Girl and the ongoing mystery of the scrapbooker behind the mask at twopsinAbucket.com.